I'm Lauren Carrozzi. Like Joanna said, I spent the past several years integrating the values of sustainability into my personal life at home and most recently in my community with volunteer work with the nonprofit organization called Ecological Culture Initiative in Hampton Bays. I don't know if any of you have heard of them, but we've been pretty active in the community the last 4 years. I've had the pleasure of stumbling and experimenting and learning about zero waste for about, like I said, the past several years. Now incorporating veggies and herbs into my cleaning products and bath and body products, trying and testing out DIYs, do-it-yourself recipes, and also recipes a lot of the waste from the grocery store, from packaging. And I'll share how I got into or bit by the zero waste bug. But first, let's define zero waste. So, what is zero waste? Simply put, it's a growing movement to reduce what we consume and throw away. It's getting as close to zero as you can and following the 5 principles of zero waste in order. And those are refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot, which is another word for compost. It's a process, it's a practice, it's a mindset shift to try for zero. You're never going to arrive at zero. It's a daily practice. Doing what makes sense to you, making those changes that make sense to you, and what you think you can sustain. It's not a crash diet. It's learning to eat healthy, learning to buy healthy. And that makes zero waste, creating a zero waste lifestyle different for everyone. It's about making choices with a bit more thought and a lot more care, not only for your trash can, but for your impact on Mother Earth. It's about establishing a circular economy within our society's linear economy. Our current modern day economy is very linear. Resources are extracted, they're processed, they're consumed, and they're discarded. Like, perfect example is the paper coffee cup. Trees from the forest, paper mill, manufacturing plant, coffee shop, in your hand, in the trash, in the landfill. Linear. There's nothing sustainable about that process. And until that changes, it's up to us to start making changes in our home. And there are a lot of things you can do in your own home. Zero waste then becomes creative and resourceful, which require a bit of slowing down, a little bit of inconvenience. It also can be very heavy at times. For example, oat milk making. I do that every morning. Sometimes I'm opening the fridge and I'm hoping there's, a full jug of oat milk, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes, getting started, I was always like, oh, now I have to make it. Wasn't convenient. I'm rushing to get the kids to school. I just want to give them, their breakfast. But what I found is in the process of making it, of measuring the oats, measuring the water, blending it, straining it, and then serving it to my kids, that process is just so enriching, and it definitely takes some time to get used to, but it has this gratification. If you can't make something from scratch, of course, then buying items that can be continually put in reuse in one form or another is the next best alternative. This requires looking at the value of a product even after it's consumed. So avoiding plastic and finding the product in a form like metal and glass, or metal or glass, that will be continually put into reuse because they can be recycled indefinitely. In this way, zero waste becomes more than just about preventing or avoiding waste. It becomes a lifestyle that's connected to the cycles of the natural world, connects you back to your food, to your health, to your community and town, and to Mother Earth. And to nurture this mindset and lifestyle, all you have to do is start with something that piques your interest or your curiosity. Just choose one thing and move forward from there. Do what makes you feel good, because there's no telling where it will lead you. So why and how I got into zero waste. I started out on my zero waste journey about 4 or 5 years ago now. Before I was zero waste, I was feeling good about how my husband and our 2 young boys and I were living our lives. In my mind, we were conscious consumers. We were buying and eating organic, non-GMO foods. We were recycling. We were buying secondhand when we could, and decreasing our carbon footprint with low emissions vehicles. At some point along the way, I read an article in New York Magazine about Lauren Singer, who described how she fits a year's worth of trash into a 16-ounce mason jar. At first, I was confused, thinking she can do what? Then I started to connect the dots. What she was getting at was that in order to minimize the amount of trash you make, you had to be mindful not only of what you were consuming, but also of the packaging it comes in. So here I was thinking I was so thoughtful, living my healthy lifestyle, choosing products that had few ingredients, were organic, and I was living thoughtfully, but at the same time I was creating a lot of waste, a lot of plastic waste, recyclable or not. Then I came across this eye-opening fact. Only 10% of plastic we generate through our trash is recycled. The other 90% ends up in landfills with our food waste, or in nature through waterways and oceans and back into the food chain. That's when I started noticing how my everyday choices were affecting the planet. Every time I threw something in the trash, I was like, oh my God, where's I didn't feel like there should be a trade-off between my lifestyle and the life of the planet. I wanted to serve them both. It's just this internal need that I have, and I needed to find a new way, and I found it through zero waste living. So if you haven't, I can redefine it a little bit more about it's the movement that is growing in number every day. Numerous blogs have popped up educating people on the subject. Bea Johnson, the author of Zero Waste Home, has been touring the country, talking the lifestyle movement, the zero waste lifestyle movement as it is today, and by creating a methodology of the 5 rules as I went through earlier. So through this prism, this 5R prism, all of our consuming habits, the products we depend on, and the waste that they leave behind are all mindfully reconsidered. I immediately started turning these principles into action, and a lifestyle shift ensued. First, I became conscious of what we were throwing away and what products were the culprit. We started swapping most single-use containers for reusable ones. The most obvious, reusable coffee cup, water bottle, metal straw, stainless steel to-go containers. We also shifted to bulk buying, which came with a change in habits from carrying our own reusable cotton produce bags to more scratch cooking. Our lifestyle started slowing down, and our kitchen was getting happier, more adventurous. And at the same time, we tackled our food waste and started composting at home. Our trash diminished considerably at that time, becoming more clean and dry with no wet organic matter. But we were still faced with the plastic and chemicals generated by our home and personal care products. This empowered me to start making my own, which became the real turning point for me. Making my own DIYs, my do-it-yourselves. Not only could I eliminate the toxic chemicals and their containers from my home, but I could tackle my dishes, laundry, floor, cleaning the floor, any surfaces with just a handful of trusted natural ingredients. I also started learning about herbs and essential oils, flowers and plants that I could incorporate into the recipes I was using to further benefit each product. This in turn pulled me outside to grow my own kitchen garden, just a few steps from my home, and allowed me to cultivate a deeper connection to the natural world. As I continued to go deeper into mindful living, I realized that what was good for us was also now good for the planet. In this process of striving for zero waste, I found a way to fulfill my intentions. So let's break down the 5 R's. Unless anyone has a question I should answer before I get started. So 5 R's. First one is refuse. And within the 5 R's, you practice them in order. So refuse. Refuse what you don't need. Some examples of that. Going to the coffee shop and the little napkin that comes under your coffee cup. Junk mail is a huge one. And there are some resources, some online sources that you can go into and actually plug in your address so that you eliminate all junk mail. And I can put those up at the end of the talk if anyone's interested. Turning down freebies is a huge one. I don't know what that nose is. But turning down freebies from like conferences or fairs or parties, like goodie bags. I know like that's total cultural thing, but the more that you take one, you create a demand to make more. So refusing them, like who needs a new pen? Who needs another free pen? Who needs a new, even the tote bags are like becoming a little extreme. I think I have a whole basket full of them. So now I just refuse. Anything anyone wants to give me for free, I usually say no. I don't need it. I probably already have it at home. The second is reduced. So this one is an interesting one. I'm sure all of you have moved at some point in your life. And when you move, that's when you start to see all that you own. It's all right there for you to start packing up. And you're likely to find things that you've never used. You're likely to find 2 or 3 items that you have that are exactly the same. And what you ultimately see is all the things that you really don't need. Things that have been pushed away, you know. When you're not consciously being organized and tidy, you know, it's harder to maintain a reduced and decluttered home. So that's, you know, what reduce actually, you know, helps you strive for is to declutter your home, like make space in the pantry, make space in the fridge, organize it before you go to the grocery store so you know exactly what you need and what you don't, so you're not buying extra that might then go bad that you end up tossing out. You'll just lighten your load and you'll make precious resources more available. And donating to local thrift shops, you know, is always a wonderful thing to do as well. Definitely having a shopping list every time you go to the grocery store so there's no impulse buying. For me, I don't go grocery shopping on an empty stomach. That's like always a big problem for me. So the less you bring home, the less waste you'll have to deal with once you're at home. The next is reuse, and this is another biggie because this is basically, you know, understanding grocery shopping waste, you know, going into the store armed with some reusables is going to help you on this, and also understanding how to use your food in a more resourceful way, in a more creative way. Also is a part of this reuse. So for an example, food waste, if anyone has ever made their own veggie broth, you know, you're dicing up your broccoli or the kale stems, or, you know, the onion peels, whatever. I throw everything that I'm not using. I'm not throwing it into the compost yet because I want to reuse it before it gets composted or rotted, right? So I have a big bucket in the freezer, and I just throw it in there. And once it's full, then I'll make a veggie broth, and I'll make usually about 12 cups of it, and I'll freeze the majority of it and then just leave it in the refrigerator to be consumed. It usually lasts about a week. It's a great alternative for oil too. It's healthier in that way. Excuse me, let me take a little sip. Reusable water bottle. Always, I never leave home without that thing. Another way to be creative with food waste is with when I make my own, like I said, oat milk, and I'll have the pulp that's left over. I can make crackers with those. If you're a big juicer, all that pulp, there's recipes out there that you can make crackers out of the juice pulp. So it's things like that that you can start being creative and find an alternative way. Lemon peels, you know, you can shave the rind and you can actually make a powder with it and add it to your smoothie or to your juice. I use them to infuse the vinegar for my own cleaning spray. So it's like gets an extra, you know, an extra turn to live, you know, before you're just throwing it in the compost. Like so many foods, it takes so much water and energy, and then the transportation, and then into the grocery store, you know, and if you're just buying it and using it for just once and then throwing it away, it's just, you know, it's just a lot of precious resources that could be better sustained. So 9 essential items that will help you start this reused part of the journey. I'll just break them down here quickly. Everyone, I'm sure, has the canvas tote. Always great for any shopping, not just grocery shopping, but if you're going clothing shopping, really any toy store shopping, whatever, instead of taking their bag, even if it's a paper bag, why not just put it right inside your own tote? Eliminates that waste. Stainless steel containers, these are amazing. They come in various sizes. We have these in our kids' lunchbox. We put their chips or pretzels or fruit or whatever that we don't kind of want crushed. Sandwiches are great. Going to the beach, these are great. This is where I was saying it gets a little heavy because, you know, this will have weight to it once it's filled up. I take this to the restaurants, and any leftover food that I don't eat goes in here, and I don't have to worry about, you know, taking home a plant check. What's next? The mason jar. These are great. I mean, they have so many uses. You can use it as a coffee cup if you forgot yours at home. Bulk buying. Unfortunately, we don't have a wet bulk option here in Southampton or in the Hamptons in general. But you could still fill up rice. You know, they all come in different containers. You don't necessarily need to buy these, because if you're buying, let's say, pickles or olives or, you know, something that comes in a jar, which you would choose other than plastic, once it's finished, you could just reuse the jar, and, you know, you can store your rice in here from the bulk bin. So don't necessarily need to buy anything new if you can reuse what you already have on hand. To-go cutlery, you know, everyone loves these bamboo cutleries. I do like them. They're so lightweight, but you can easily, you know, take your own cutlery from your silverware drawer and make your own. Wrapping them up, of course, in a cloth napkin, you know, will keep them compact and not falling all over your to-go bag. Cloth napkins, obvious replacement for your paper napkins. We have these on our kitchen table in a little basket, and I just, you know, I collect them once I get enough, and I'm doing laundry that day with the kids' clothes and towels and such. I just throw them all in and then fold them up, put them back in the basket. Just as a side note, you know, any rags that you have are perfect for eliminating any paper towel waste too. I mean, it's the same kind of idea. After you wipe up a spill or a mess, you can just throw it right in your laundry machine, the washing machine, and then just do the load once it's full and ready to go. So, in other ways to kind of reuse a disposable, or swap a disposable for a reusable. Let's see, the bamboo toothbrush, you know, the bristles are not compostable. They can be recyclable, but that totally depends on your town recycling center's rules. I have to investigate this more. I'm working with the Southampton Green Committee and the Waste Management Department to kind of iron out some of these, you know, ambiguous terms and regulations they have on what is not recyclable. Just defining them is very difficult. But regular toothbrushes are made of plastic. The bristles are plastic, and the stem itself is plastic, and those never biodegrade. They're just in the landfill forever. And the bamboo stem of the toothbrush is actually compostable. So I'll just pull out the bristles and just throw them right into my compost bin. It's great brown matter. I'll get into that later. Metal straw. If you're a big fan of drinking from a straw, at home or at the restaurant, you know, you always want to be able to refuse what the restaurant gives you. I mean, now that plastic straws are banned, they shouldn't be handing those out, but it's even using this over a paper, right? The paper still is going to end up in the trash, right? So this is about eliminating and avoiding trash. So even though it's like, oh, it's just paper, it's going to biodegrade, you know, why not just carry your own toothbrush, straw? What's next? Beeswax, they're pretty popular. They've been around for a while now. Bees wraps, these are, especially in the hot weather, you know, the beeswax becomes very sticky, and you can form them around the lid of your container. And it's perfect alternative to plastic wrap, saran wrap. So this is definitely one of those things that you can make a nice, so once you're done using your saran wrap at home, it's time to buy these. I think Fowler's sells them, maybe not in all the sizes. And, you know, if you ask, usually Wild by Nature or Provisions will bring them, order them for you. These are the stasher bags. Instead of Ziploc plastic bags, you can wash these. They even actually go in your dishwasher. You can store food in them. They can go in the freezer. You can put liquid in them. These things are amazing. They're made out of silicone. So a great alternative to plastic. And Yeah, those are the 9 essentials. Water bottles, definitely an essential, and the coffee to go. I have a glass to go mug, or even, you know, filling up a stainless steel water bottle, or the mason jar, like I said, acts as a to go coffee mug. So, any questions on reusables? I thought I saw a question before. I'm not sure. Someone said, is the compost a receptacle different from a recyclable bin trash? So what I think is being asked is, yes, you would have a recyclable container. So you could, I separate mine with paper and plastic, glass and metal or aluminum. So I have those 2 at home, and then I do have my compost bin on the counter. A bowl, it works just as well, and you can put it in the freezer and until it's filled up, and then go compost. And I'll get to composting soon because we're at number 4. We're doing recycling. Recycling is kind of your last resort, right? You don't want to buy something and just say, oh, I'm just going to recycle this, because it's still trash, and it's still very unclear how much actually gets recycled. They say 9% of plastic gets recycled. So it's just minimizing that waste rather than relying on recycling is one of the best ways to reduce your waste and impact the earth. So you kind of have to ask yourself, have I refused? Have I reduced? Do I need this? Can I find it in alternative packaging? Can I make it from scratch? If all answers lead to no, then buy it. Try to buy it in metal or tin or glass, so that those products can have a longer life cycle. You know, the more that we create that demand for that kind of thing and less of a demand for single use, then, you know, there's going to be less single use. Businesses aren't going to stock those items first. They're going to stock them last. So the more people that, you know, make these changes, it's kind of like voting with shopping. Shopping is voting. You know, you're choosing, and choosing the right thing, or, you know, if you're wanting to eliminate waste, is that's this action item that you can do. Buying primarily in bulk or second hand is obviously the better choice. You know, Wild by Nature is the only extensive bulk buying option in the Hamptons, and that's all the way in Hampton Bays. In Southampton, we don't have anything. Watermill and like Stop and Shop is not like about eliminating waste in that sense. Provisions and the new one in Watermill, they have a pretty good size bulk bin, and it's actually been open this whole time during COVID. So I've been able to bring the cotton produce bag to the bulk section and fill them up. These are great. They actually have the tear on them already. So you just let them know at the register so they can take off the, you know, the cost of the weight of that cotton and fill those up. And then when you get home, you transfer them into your glass jar in your pantry, and you've created no waste. They have rice, they have oats, sugar, flour, any lentil you can think of, and bean. But again, those, you know, it takes a little bit more effort. You have to remember to bring them. With beans, you know, you have to soak the beans. So you have to think ahead of time. When do I want to have, you know, beans and rice for dinner, or I'm going to make, you know, a Mexican dish. I want to have some beans. So you have, it's like that slowing down process needs to happen, and it totally takes time, and it's a completely different way of living than what we're used to. Let's see. Oh, another great one, you know, is toilet paper too. You know, a lot of the toilet paper comes in plastic. And Southampton does recycle thin film plastic. I'm still trying to follow that line to where it actually ends up and what people who are buying that trash do with it. It is an option. So any of your bread bags that come in plastic, if you're not going to be making it at home, or tortillas, you know, it's all kind of how far you're willing to go to eliminate that thin film plastic, but that is an option. But again, you want to make that question in your head, like, can I make this? Can I go to Tate's, for instance, and get a baguette and have no plastic film waste? You know, you can bring a cloth bag and they'll transfer your croissants or your sandwich rolls or, you know, your baguette right into your cotton produce bag, and then you won't have to deal with the thin film plastic. So it's like really getting your head around these things, and it just, you know, takes time. And, you know, I am available for any questions, so I'll make that clear at the end, how to get in contact with me. And so the last one is rot, or compost. We have 2 compost bins at our house. We have one that we put a lot of our brown matter in, all our leaves, lawn trimmings, you know, branches, trimmings after a day of pruning. And then we have a worm composter, which just does, it's just worms and a little bit of dirt, a little bit of brown matter so it doesn't get too wet, and then just our food waste. So we have those 3 options, and we actually harvested the soil and transplanted it into our kitchen garden earlier this spring. If you're not into doing your own composting, or you find that they have amazing contraptions now, there's this green cone that, like, you dig into your ground and you just put your organic food waste, you know, fruits and veggies, nothing protein, no oils, no fats, right directly into this contraption, and it just releases into the ground. But you have to be very diligent that you're putting in the right thing, because it does go into the ground. There's other options where you have 2 compartments, so you fill up one, and then once it's kind of getting to that point where it needs to kind of be left alone, you close it off, it does its thing, and then you can start adding it to the second container. And there's these tumblers that keep because you want the air to circulate, you know, you don't want it to pile up and get all moldy. You want to kind of circulate it. So if you just do a simple Google search on the different composting options, systems that work for your home, you know, and then which one you feel comfortable in, I definitely will reduce your food waste, you know, more than 50%. And I said, you know, getting creative with your food waste first, of course, before you're doing the composting. And then ECI, the Ecological Culture Initiative, we call it ECI. We're in our 2nd session of our composting program. We serve Hampton Bays and Southampton. We do, you just go right to St. Joseph Villa. We have a good ground garden there. All the food that we grow there is harvested and donated to, and provided to a local food pantry. And the composting bin is right on site there, that you can bring we set you up with a pail. You can, and then you can drop off your compost every week or whenever you actually need to. Or we do pickups. So if, you know, you don't go out to Hampton Bays often, for like an extra $10, we will come to your home and pick up, or maybe it's 20, I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think it is 20. We'll come and pick it up and compost it for you. We'll actually dump yours into a larger receptacle, and then you'll you know, and leave you with your bin. So there's That's amazing concept that we just created early this spring. You know, there's no composting facility in our town. And we're hoping that the more momentum, the more it grows, we'll be able to talk to the town and maybe establish some sort of a larger concept of a composting program. So we're working on that one. So those are the 5 R's. And so I'm just going to start wrapping up and then take some questions. So I just want to restate that I do appreciate the comforts that many of us enjoy today in our modern society. But I'm equally aware of what we traded away from the conveniences of modern day life. A lot of us will never know the practical hardships faced by those who lived 100 years ago, but a lot of them never knew the social, emotional, and spiritual hardships that we know today as we grow farther away from our food, our communities, and maybe even ourselves. I do think that there's no better way to enrich your life than slowing down, learning about the way things used to be, and begin weaving those time-honored practices and traditions into my daily life that will ultimately nourish that feeling of lack and what keeps me from finding everything I need. It's good for the environment. Those past practices were much more gentler on the earth. And when it comes to the environmental challenges facing the planet today, and for a while now, it will take vision and leaderships from our government and international organizations and even the private sector to drive meaningful change on a global scale. But when enough people start making the same kinds of choices, markets, politicians, and even laws tend to follow along. Like I was saying earlier, you know, the supply and demand. Personally, the choices I make every day make me feel good. I draw inspiration and energy from trying to make my little part of the world a better, healthier, and more beautiful and sustainable place. So that's it. Definitely would love to answer any questions. There's another one. What do I think of TerraCycle? Yes, I know of them. I've been trying to learn more about them. They have different bins that you can actually buy and just fill up and then mail to them, and then they dispose of them, or actually they reuse most of what you're providing them for other products. So yes, I'm definitely all for TerraCycle. I have yet to use them, but I've gone through the website and read, and would love to start implementing those in some of the businesses around Hampton Bays with ECI. Can I put citrus in the compost? Someone asked. Yes, I put citrus in my compost and I've had no problems. Someone asked, how do we volunteer at your organization? That's awesome. I'll provide, because Joanna wants to put up some URLs to link to with this video that she'll be putting up in the Rogers Memorial YouTube page. So I'll definitely put up how to volunteer. ECI's website is eciny.org, and I think if you just go to /volunteer, it will take you right to the page on how to get involved. So eciny.org/volunteer. And if you want to sign up for the composting program, that's definitely another web page. And I think it's just composting. Oh, here it is. It's /community-composting-program. So that's a little more trickier one. But if you just go to the ECI page and go under initiatives, you'll find it there, community composting program. And you can start composting tomorrow.
Any more questions? Oh, new message.
Where do you buy the silicone bags? Yes, great resource that I love is Package Free Shop. I thought she had her website on her bag. Package Free Shop. Let me just verify that. Yes, packagefreeshop.com. It's a shop in Williamsburg, and she just opened one up in Chelsea. That's Lauren Singer's shop that she opened up 10 years ago, I want to say. She sells all these supplies. I mean, this is where I got my first kit to start zero wasting, those essential items to kind of kickstart this process. Was her site. And there's some other great ones. There's Wild Minimalist and Zero Waste Collective is another great one. So yeah, they're popping up all over the place now. So they're not hard to find.
Somebody asked about how do you recycle clothing?
ZeroWasteStore.com is what I was looking for. How do I recycle clothing? Like recycling for the compost or just secondhand recycling?
I'm guessing secondhand.
Yeah, so there's, what's that place behind Hildred's? I think it's linked to the hospital. I can't remember the name of it. I go there. They have a bin outside. The recycling center off Noyak I go to because I don't have curbside pickup. Because I found that what they're doing in Southampton is better than what they're doing with like Go Green. That's the only other sanitation service I know of out here. Unwearable. Oh, okay, unwearable. So it kind of depends on what the fabric is. But you can always make things from it. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead to someone else's thing. But I had cotton pajama bottoms that totally ripped and got all crazy, and I just started cutting them up. And now I use them for homemade dryer sheets, which I just take maybe about a stack of 20 and I dip them in a jar filled with vinegar about this high, and it soaks, the fabric soaks up the vinegar, and then I just pop them in instead of a dryer sheet. Put a little essential oil in there, and that's my DIY for dryer sheets. Totally works. So not donatable, I heard, and I've never tried this myself, but if you have like 100% a knit sweater or like a cashmere, which would be like so sad because cashmere is so precious, you can like cut it up and then undo it and then wrap it up, like so you have a ball of yarn, and then you can actually make your own dryer balls with that. You know, it's hard with clothing because so much of it comes with polyester. They're synthetic materials and the microplastics that are coming off in our washing machines from those clothes. So if you can cut it up and use it as a rag, I would do that. I mean, they're still gonna shut off microplastics. So, you know, I don't have an easy answer for that one. I have heard bad news recently about glass recycling. It's not happening in our area. It's all ending in the landfill. Yes, this was one of my huge questions. To ask the waste management committee, because I did hear this too, and I called, and a lot of our trash gets shipped off to the town of Islip, and I've contacted them to see if glass is being recycled. Christine, I don't remember her last name, who runs the Southampton town recycling centers and the dumps. She says that the glass is getting recycled, because I was like, we have wineries out here. How can we not recycle wine bottles? That's crazy. So yes, But you could use those, unless you're like an avid drinker, you could always use those as rolling pins or vases, or just fill them up with water and put them on the table at your next party, or, you know, your next lunch. So other ways of being creative. You could always Google all of this, and they probably, you know, there's a plethora of things you could do with those. Should you do a DIY segment? You are very knowledgeable. Thank you. Yes. Before I go, I'll just mention the DIY thing that I'm working on. Yes, I will put all the websites in the chat, so everyone will have them. I can do that at the end, you think, or should I do that now? At the end. And where I get my essential oils, I'm a minimalist. I don't have, like, you know, a plethora of them. I use tea tree oil and lavender and peppermint, just 3, and lemon, so 4. I use 4, and I just get them. Second Nature has a bunch, and if they don't have it, I ask them to order one for me. I love to get the 4 ounce because I prefer the larger size, of course. So I get more use out of it, and then I just reuse that bottle for any DIYs that I make. Like if I'm making a lavender scented oil, body oil, moisturizing oil, or massage oil, I'll reuse that, and you know, it looks nice and pretty. You can take off the label, put your own on, you know, you can get very creative. So let me start putting the URLs in there. If anyone has any questions, I can stop doing that. I hope I didn't talk too fast.
No, I think it was wonderful. Also, if you want, you can unmute yourself and ask directly, if that's easier.
So these are the junk mail sites.
And we will be putting this video, this is being recorded on our YouTube channel. Lauren mentioned it again before, and I will also put all the website in the description of the video, so you can access it from there. If you want to provide I actually have your email, so I can also send that to you after we're done.
Let me just say quickly, provisions, I think is in Watermill. I don't drive too far to things. So the provisions at Watermill is like the one store I go to now, especially with COVID, because it was so small and they didn't kill their bulk section. They have totes, and I think they have 1 cotton bag. So yeah, you're definitely gonna have to find, that's the problem of our small town. But I'm trying to, like, work with them and, you know, talk to them of what, you know, if they're giving bulk items, they should supply cloth produce bags. I mean, come on. So shops for zero waste reusables. I said package free, shop.com, and zero waste, what was it? Zero waste store. .com and wild minimalist.com. Well, I spelled minimalist right. Just check that URL. And then I'll put I will put ECI stuff up there. This is the URL. Can I erase? No, probably not. Use this. I don't know why those aren't coming up as links. ECI, composting program. Should have done this in the first place. And volunteer. Volunteer is not here. ECI is hopefully doing a Hampton Bays farmers market. So is everyone from Southampton? I see some people I know that are from Southampton. And yeah, so we all know about the Sunday one, obviously, at Agawam, and then ECI will have one at the old Macy's parking lot. Yes. Someone else have a question? Charles? I thought I saw your hand raised. Yeah. Joanna, it's better if I have those live links like that.
Oh.
I can actually, if you want, I can just email everybody those links so they don't have to.
That's a good idea.
I don't know if you can copy this as a, you know, if you're a participant, can you copy the
Of the chat?
whatever is in the chat?
I don't know.
So I will just save the chat and I will save and I will just send it to everyone, so you don't have to worry about it.
Is anyone composting at home and using the compost?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Who is that? I didn't see a face. I only heard.
Very shy.
So are you having success? Are you seeing it decompose? Are you using the soil in your gardens, or in your, you know, you can use it on the lawn, you can use it in your house plants if there's like no live worms in there?
Definitely. We have a lot of vegetables being grown on the compost soil.
Awesome. Any tips you want to share? Like food scraps that you tend to throw in there?
I pretty much put everything in there. I eat vegan, so there's not much that can't go in there. So it works pretty easy.
I actually turned my bathroom trash can into my compost, into a little dry compost bin. So that was like one accomplishment I made. Finally got through all the products that I had bought in plastic and was able to switch over to shampoo bar, conditioner bar. I've made some products for my hair, my own lip balm, and the floss. You can buy compostable silk floss that can go right into your compost too. So,
What about eggshells?
eggshells, definitely eggshells can go in the garden, and there's so many uses for eggshells. I have a little list here. I use them in the garden around, like I make a little perimeter around certain vegetables, like my kale, anything where little critters are crawling up, the cabbage lopers are called. So I've been doing that. I've cleaned them out and to remove any of the protein, and then I pour boiling water over them, and then I use that as a fertilizer. Where is that piece of paper? Yeah. People have actually put them in their laundry. I have yet to do that, but if you have like a little mesh or muslin bag and it's secured tightly, you can add that. And especially when you're doing whites, if you separate your whites out, those will naturally brighten. So that's totally something cool to try. I think that is amazing. It definitely boosts your compost, adding the calcium to the pile. Like I said, the crushed eggshells, I let soak in some water, or I just like soak them like a tea, and then I just do it. I water my indoor plants with them. What else? Yeah, I've seen people make art projects with them. They fill up the shells with little seeds and secure the lids back somehow, and like use them as shakers. There's so many things. That one I haven't tried. But mainly I use mine in the compost, obviously, for watering the indoor plants and in my garden. You'll see my garden sprinkled with them everywhere. So my cabbages have a fighting chance.
It's a great idea. You guys have any?
I open the coffee pods and use the grinds. Oh, you mean like a Keurig? Yeah, I would. You know, if you have a Keurig already, you know, you could always donate it or sell it on Facebook Marketplace. My whole house, besides this piece of art that my husband made, our whole house was furnished by Facebook Marketplace. I got our fridge from there, our oven from there. I love that. I find everything. And, you know, you have to be patient, because obviously it's not just waiting for you to do a search. But yeah, if you're totally into the pods, definitely a wasteful thing. Because you can buy the coffee in bulk, and so you're not needing to repurpose like the tin can that they come in, or, you know, the brown bag that it can come in. Just simplifies it. And then I just do like a slow brew coffee. So I just pour boiling water, like making tea, over my coffee, and then strain it and drink it like that. But, you know, people have coffee makers, and they should use coffee makers. You can buy hemp filters that you can just wash out, rinse clean in the sink. So you're not creating that waste, and you're still using the appliance that you've already bought, right? You're not just gonna like
Toast them.
You should reuse what you have, definitely. I have a plastic broom that is horrendous, that I hate, and it scratches my hardwood floors, but it works great in the kitchen, and so I use it. I'm not gonna like not use it and then buy something new, right? It's like, that's not the point. Face masks. Package free shop that I put the URL up above earlier, she sells them. Definitely making your own. I used like an eye mask that was big enough to cover my face. I don't really, you know, run a lot of errands and stuff like that where I'm, you know, wearing it a lot. So, and I've also watched some videos on YouTube on how to make them. It looks super simple. You just make them by hand. You don't even need a sewing machine. So, and that would be great if you have, you know, a nice cotton t-shirt or pants that kind of are ripped up or stained, that aren't wearable anymore, to make a mask out of those. Pillowcases too, those serve, you know, if you have sheets that are torn or something, I mean, you could mend them, or you could make masks or rags or cloth napkins. All what you feel comfortable with, you know. Try to keep this static as best as you can, you know, if that's something you're into. So it looks pretty, you know, everyone likes nice things to look nice in their home. So yeah, whatever works for you, whatever's sustainable for you is definitely the goal here. Zero waste.
All right. Any more questions? Suggestions, maybe?
Anything I didn't cover? I'll definitely be working. Oh, and I was going to mention the DIY stuff. So just to tell you, on Instagram and on Facebook, you can follow me at Mommy Turns Green. I also have a website called mommyturnsgreen.com. There, I'm all on social and on the website. I provide zero waste tips, natural cleaning recipes, natural wellness and bath and body DIYs, and kitchen garden recipes. I've just started writing more lengthy blog articles about what it means to go zero waste and how to get started. So that it doesn't always fit on Instagram. So those are up on my website. I compiled my first ebook of natural cleaning products to make the transition to DIY easier for those who want to give it a try. It's called Clean Your Home Naturally with Less, which is the image that is on the event through the library. Mm-hmm. My next book I'm hoping to compile by the end of the year will be focused on DIYs for personal and body care products like mouthwash, toothpaste, soap, body scrubs, you know, a lot of girly kind of stuff mixed in. But my husband, he's a trooper. He's going along with it. So yeah, follow me on Mommy Turns Green or visit my website and read my posts week to week. My email, you can email me through either of those two platforms, and I'm always up and interested in hear if you've created a DIY or you're trying a new swap or reusable, or if you have a question about composting or anything like that. I'm totally available and love to hear from you. So thank you everyone for being here. It was a pleasure.